Remember, there are no rules in cooking. Taste this. Hi, welcome to Taste This TV. I'm Chef Joe Ciminera. You know, where do you go to get fine handcrafted pastas in large cities like New York? Well, I'm going to see my friend Alessandra, who's whipping up handmade, crafted pastas that are worth the treat. Come inside, taste some pastas with me on Taste This. Hey, Alessandra, how are you?
Welcome, Joe.
Good to see you again.
Good to see you too.
You know, I'm starving, and when I think of fresh pastas in New York City, I come to you.
You're in the right place. I have a great couple of plates.
So we're going to eat today?
Absolutely.
What do you got?
Some great stuff. I have butternut squash gnocchi with
Interesting.
sun-dried tomatoes, Parmesan cheese, butter and sage sauce.
Oh, that sounds delicious.
Sweet and tasty.
Excellent. Well, why don't we go and taste some
Absolutely.
food?
Right this way.
Well, here it is, the famous butternut gnocchi combination.
Absolutely. This is it's a great dish. Just brings up the sweetness of the butternut squash. The squash is first roasted with onions, carrots, and celery, and then it's blended to a nice puree. The gnocchi is a homemade potato gnocchi, so it's nice and soft and not too heavy. And it's topped with Parmesan cheese and crispy sun-dried tomatoes. And the sauce is added a little bit of butter and sage, just to give it a little more sweetness.
This is incredible. You know, when I think about a gnocchi and how they're supposed to taste, what I can't stand is like a heavy gnocchi falling apart. This, you could see, holds its shape perfectly. They're cooked perfectly, they're not raw in the center, and they really adhere to the sauce, which is another pet peeve of mine when people don't make thick enough sauce. You can see the sauce is really thick, coats the gnocchis perfectly. One other thing I want to talk about are these sun-dried tomato flakes here, which are really interesting. So what's that all about?
It just gives it a little bit more crispiness to the dish, and it also a little bit of color to make it more interesting on the flavor and also on the ice.
I like the sauce, and the fact that this sauce actually adheres to the gnocchi, which is a big thing too. It's not too thin, it's not too thick, but the flavors, this is definitely a winner. What do we got next?
We have the homemade whole-wheat fettuccine with chestnut puree, sausage, and mushrooms.
Now, this seems like a very interesting combination here. Looks fabulous. Can you tell me a little bit about it?
Absolutely. This is just a homemade whole-wheat fettuccine with Italian sausage, mushrooms. We use shiitake mushrooms in this dish.
Very nice. Well, it looks wonderful. I mean, all the sauces just coat the pasta, coat the protein really good. And I think that's important when you're talking about good pastas and you're talking about great sauces, is that they need to be cooked down to a thick bubble consistency. This way everything sort of kind of sticks together. Again, big fan on sauces that are cooked right. Let's go down the hatch with this one. Definitely a winner.
Okay, so what we have here is the fusilli alla velinese. It's a homemade fusilli pasta with slow heat meat ragu with veal and pork. And it's just put slow heat for about 4 hours.
Really? That's the way to do it. You know, even when I cook my meat sauce, I put a whole ton of meats in there, from everything from ribeye, New York strips to stew, and I just stew that baby down. You know, any kind of meat, as long as you cook it down 4 to 6 hours,
absolutely,
you're good.
Absolutely.
You know?
I will suggest you this with a little bit of Parmesan cheese.
Absolutely. That's a must. And extra oil at the end.
Extra oil will be
which
a
I
great
noticed
touch.
that you give
put
that
on.
touch. All right, let's
enjoy it.
And the pasta here is a cavatelli?
This is fusilli.
Oh,
which
fusilli.
Is also a traditional pasta from the Avellino region, from the Campania region, exactly from Avellino. And the pasta in itself is made just with water, flour, and semolina. It's sort of like al dente. Has a little different consistency.
I was just going to say, to the tooth.
Very
exactly. Good. And the cheese really marries nicely.
Absolutely. Parmesan cheese always helps to blend the flavors together.
This is great. Well, Alessandro, thank you for having me here.
It's a pleasure having you.
Pleasure.
I will see you again.
Absolutely. I'm going to head back over to the test kitchen and whip up some more great recipes, so don't go anywhere. Taste this. All right, so now we're going to get started on some more great recipes. Today we're going to be using Fold's pasta. Now, we talked about that 100% durum semolina wheat flour that gets digested very slowly so your body can absorb the proper nutrients. We're using their veggie spirals today. Really incredible pasta. We got some other cuts that we're going to be using with them as well. But when you're talking about great handcrafted pasta, my friends, use Fold's pasta. Now, walking over here, we're going to be using something different today from Garlic Gourmet. Their garlic jalapeno rub that we're going to be putting in a pasta dish as well to give it just that extra hint of garlic, but also a little bit of heat. as well. We can't forget that we're using our organic beef today, which is sponsored by Dakota Beef. And we are going over here to Osha Foods, where we're going to be using their Caribbean spice rub today. Next, we have a little bit of pancetta that we're going to be using with this pasta dish from Volpi. And we can't forget about our Georgia Olive Farms, which produces this incredible olive oil, both for finishing and for cooking. We're going to do something a little different with the goat cheese today by Montchevre, and we're going to be using their onion basil. I very rarely get into flavored cheeses, but because this is so good, this is going to really enhance our pasta dish that we're going to be doing in our first recipe. We're going to be using Melt Organic spread, rich in omega-6 and omega-3, which is really important. Incredible as a finishing spread. And then also we're going to walk over to Village Roasters, their dark roast decaf that we're going to be using today. And we're going to be working with a sweet earth. It's called seitan. So check it out. Can't forget about our Comté cheese from France. Incredible flavor, raw cow's milk, and which we're going to be incorporating that in our meat pasta. Now we got our egg dumpling pasta that we're going to be working with today, folks. And this is a really neat cut of pasta. What's really delicious about eating really good crafted pasta is the cuts. The cuts are fun. This cut actually holds a pancetta dish that I'm going to be cooking for you today, and a combination of this onion basil infused goat cheese at the end. Doing something a bit different today. You've heard of deglazing things with beer, and that's exactly what we're going to be doing today. We're going to be cooking with beer. This is a dark, rich beer that's going to be sauteed with the pancetta and the onions. It's going to give us the body that we're looking for. We're going to put in some herbs, and we're going to have a good time with it. So let's take our egg pasta and go right down to dirty first. It's a quick time. It's like 6 minutes or so. All right, now we got a hot pan. This is good. I like to generally go down with the pancetta first because it'll melt some of the fat and give us some structure to start sauteing these onions. Pasta looks good. Of course, always salt your water before, which I did. I didn't do it on camera. But, I got 2 tablespoons of salt in there to about a quarter liquid. All right, pancetta goes down, looking good, right? We got some onions in there. Don't be shy on the onions. If you cook them down in the beginning, they turn into something that's going to be sweet. Onions should be cooked so that you get the sweet textured caramelization flavor of your product in the dish. Okay, this is looking good. You can turn up the heat a bit. Now what I like to do is put a generous amount of pepper in there, cracked black pepper. And this is really going to help with the flavor of the dish. Incredible. What we're going to do is crack black pepper. And you see how I have the peppercorns in here like that? It's really the best way to, these don't cost much, and you can find them now pretty much anywhere. Years back, 20, 30 years ago, if you were in a restaurant, you did this, and nobody had one of these at home. But the reality is now they're so readily available. And the reason why I say that is because you get the most flavor from cracked black pepper than you would your pepper sitting in a jar somewhere. That just doesn't work. It loses the potency after a while. Alright, just going to flip this up. Looks good. You see what I'm talking about? Things are getting brown, coming together, marrying nicely. But we got a little ways to go down. Let's let it cook down. At the same time, I got some scallions, parsley, fresh basil, and what I do is I mince some red bell pepper. It gives it texture, gives it flavor, gives it color. Okay. All right, this is smelling good. I'm happy with the onions. They're going to be soft right now. Pancetta is fully cooked now. If I just tip this over, you can really see good. Really coming through. You see what that color does to it? It just brings it to a whole nother level. All right, now we're ready to deglaze with the beer. So blast this up on high heat. What a nice deglazing thing here. And go a little at a time. Give the beer a chance to kind of come off the surface. And what you're doing is you're bringing the residual flavors from the all the meats and everything else that's kind of gotten stuck on the pan, and it kind of lifts it up. Just put a little bit more in there. Now at the same time, I like to temper some of this goat cheese in there. Okay, don't be shy, because this alcohol content is going to be cooked off, so don't worry about it. You know, you don't want any alcohol in your cooking. For the most part, it gets cooked off. Let's strain this pasta. Now, sometimes I'll strain the pasta just when it's al dente, return it back to the fire. The excess water that drips back to the bottom, instead of leaving it in a sink, just kind of clumping on top of each other, the water completely evaporates. So A, it's one less dish to clean in the kitchen, and B, I just feel like it doesn't weigh down the pasta. Alright, now look at this. It's coming together nicely. I'm going to grab one more of this and put it in. One more goat cheese. Now this is going to come together. Alright, that's what I'm talking about. See how nice and creamy that's coming along? Don't boil it to the point that it breaks. Remember, if it's too hot, it's like chocolate. You're tempering chocolate. So I got another thing going on here for the next dish I didn't talk about. But see how it's on a low heat over here? You don't want anything to break, because once it breaks, it just doesn't look good. Alright, now where's the water in the pasta? It's gone. No water down there, see? We're done. Pasta's completely dried out. Alright, now we got our bowl. We're going to take our liquid and see, look, it didn't break. Very important. Very important. You don't want to break this stuff. And we're going to make sure you go in with your spoon. Don't just dip, because you want that body of onions, pancetta, goat cheese. And who would have thought? Beer, right? You like beer? There's a lot of stuff you can do with beer. I mean, I praise all my meats in beer. I get like short ribs. I'm using a really good flavored, wine. I'm throwing that beer in there too. If you don't think you can mix beer and wine, let me tell you something, my friends. I do it. All right. The smell on this is incredible. I mean, really, it's just, it's a take on pasta that you don't normally see. And look at this. I mean, it's got flavor, onions, pancetta, goat cheese, beer. I mean, what's next? I win the lottery? I mean, life is good with this stuff. I mean, and this is a perfect pasta to do. I mean, look at it. I mean, some pastas just, would this have gone great with spaghetti? No way. Would this have gone great with angel hair? Not a chance. These egg noodles are the key. Okay? Oh man. Go down and dirty. This is looking good. Alright, now, you got this, right? Let's get a little greenery on top of that. Alright, got some beautiful microgreens here. It's amazing what that greenery just does to this, right? But here you have it, right? I mean, really simple pasta dish. I mean, flavored cheeses, they're out there. They save time. Go find them that are worth it. There are some that are worth the purchase. Okay, so here you have it, our first pasta dish. Next one coming up is something you may have not heard before, but it could be a vegetarian's dream. Stay tuned. Alright, so now this next dish, I'm going to prepare it two ways, because I have a lot of vegetarian people that watch the show, and that's great because I have this seitan. This is a chipotle wheat meat, so wheat protein, and they season it great, and it's a vegetarian substitute. I'm going to hit this with a little bit of tomatoes, and then I'm going to make the traditional meat sauce, my meat sauce, which has got New York strip ground, it's got dry aged ground, and it's got filet mignon ground. We do that in a hopper downstairs here. So we have a conglomerate of all those meats, and we're going to get ready to make a killer meat sauce. Now, one thing I'm going to be doing a little bit different from this meat sauce is I'm going to be deglazing it with beer. Yeah, today it just, I'm in love with beer and I want to do some things with it. So we're going to have two things going on at once. First, I'm going to take this seitan and I'm going to add a little bit of olive oil. I like to bring it back to a little consistency. First, cold pressed olive oil, really good stuff. I'm going to take our seitan chipotle wheat meat, throw it right in there. It's already seasoned, comes right out. And I could never make this, so it's a great vegetarian alternative. We got a little bit of oil we're putting in here, and we're going to put some onions in there. And we're going to put a little bit of dehydrated garlic, which is just going to reconstitute itself. So we talked about that. You know, you want to store dehydrated garlic, and you can rehydrate it at some point, whatever. And right away you get the flavor. So alright, so we're going to cook this onions down a bit here. Get it nice and brown. Deglaze a little bit with this beer. And you can use any beer you like, you know. Any beer is good beer, right? I wouldn't use a very dark beer, like you get some of those handcrafted, really dark German beers, and they have a bitter taste to them. You don't want that. You want more of a light ale beer. Beer is fine. Let's throw our meat in there. And we're not going to add the cheese until the very end. This is pretty much a very quick dish, because the reality is, you know, we're not doing a whole bunch of stuff, and if we add the cheese in the beginning, it's going to burn itself down to the bottom of the pan, and you're going to create a burnt surface. You never add your cheese till the very end, like I've done with a lot of the dishes you just seen. Something I want to talk about that I got going on here that you didn't see, I don't think you've seen me put this in, is a combination of blue cheese and milk. And on a really low flame, I melted it. See it? That's what it looks like. Now, how do I get away with the milk not breaking? If you know anything about fondues or making cheese sauces, how did I put the milk in there without it break? Because you know you're supposed to use heavy cream. Well, the milk will not break if it goes if it stays below a certain temperature. I don't know what the exact temperature is. All I know is if you put a really low flame, you can make fondues out of milk if you add enough cheese, and that's exactly what I did. Heavy cream is good, but it tends to really make your fondue like concrete. See how this has got a nice velvet consistency? Buttermilk would have worked too. Half and half would have worked. Milk, ideally. Okay. We're going to start to chop this up a bit here. Okay, next we're going to add our tomato sauce. And we're just going to clean this up a bit. So we're going to go to our next dish, which is really quick. And we got our cheese. The cheese we're going to leave for the last. We got a little bit of beer now. Let's not let it go to waste. And we're rolling out with a slice of bread, right? Some slivers of Kobe filet mignon. All right, now while we're waiting for this, because this has got kind of time to marry, it's got a little while, and you know, we're kind of going to add the cheese in at the very last step here. So everything is in there that should be in there, right? Now, what we're going to do is we have these Kobe beef chunks of beef, and we're going to season them ever so generously with this Caribbean spice rub that we got. We add a little more black pepper there, a little more salt. Alright, so now we got our Kobe beef. Put it right down in the saucepan. This is seitan. And again, it's wheat meat. It's wheat made from really good sources, and it's really seasoned well. And it's a great alternative if you don't have the stomach for meat. This is perfect. So, I mean, look at these alternatives, because there's a lot of alternative stuff out there that is really good, really well seasoned. And if you're a vegetarian, you should know about it, because finding good alternative food is a task. Alright, so now we have this cheese here. And put this cheese right in there. Remember, when you put the cheese in, you shut the flame off, okay? Take your spoon and mix it in. You see what it does? It brings everything together. Now, these beef skewers are doing really good. Put a simple herb rub on them. Right? Now, one thing I'm going to do is take these out, and I'm kind of crisscrossing with some stuff here. I'm going to take these off because they're good. What do you do with a little piece of bread that can't find a home? Like, let's say you got this piece of bread, right? What are you going to do? You throw it out? Give it to your dog? I don't know. What do you do with it? I'll show you something that you can really do with it to make this steak go perfect with this. Take the heel off. You can use it for make meatballs, whatever. stuffing. Okay, take your bread, cut it in half. You got all this residual kind of flavor here from the beef. Stick your bread down in there, like that. Let it soak it up. Don't be afraid to add some more, extra virgin olive oil, stuff like that. Take a dish. And what I'm going to do is take this incredible blue cheese fondue that I made before. And I'm going to put this in the center of the plate. Man, you smell this. Could you believe this is with milk? Alright, so what I'm doing is I'm soaking up all the flavor in this pan. Look, there's nothing left. There's no more, they call it pan gravy, right? There's no more of that. I'm going to put the 2 pieces of bread right down in there, right? This is what you can do with this bread you're not going to use, right? And then take some blue cheese, put it over the top. But before I cover that, I just want you to get a close-up shot of that bread to really show how crispy it's going to be. Grab a little microgreens, but I'm going to continue to, now that you know what it looks like, put it on top. I've mentioned before in prior shows that blue cheese and steak go together really well. Let's do this. Put it like that. Take some microgreens, put it right on top. Perfect. This portion isn't even big, but I guarantee it fills most people up. You have that richness from the fondue, the steak. All right, so here you have it. Let me just get this cleaned up here, folks. I'm going to plate this 2 pastas, and we're going to go to dessert. All right, now, I always like more sauce than pasta, so we're going to put our incredible meat sauce. Oh, man, this smells good. Okay, put a little bit of our micro basil up in there. Now we get to our vegetarian. Yeah, this looks good too. Very nice. Very, very, very nice. And put your basil on there. So here you have it, 2 pasta dishes, vegetarian and meat special, meat lovers dish. We're going to get cleaned up and pair some beverages with chocolate, so don't go anywhere. So now we're going to be pairing up some chocolate at the end of the meal. I chose a smooth dark chocolate since I'm a dark chocolate fiend. Now the smooth dark really goes perfect with this. And like I said, you want to get a nice chunk of the chocolate off so that you can, and it's always room temperature, it breaks easy. Let's go down with the chocolate. Good. Now let it, the whole mouth has to get it. We'll just leave it on one side. First step, swirl your wine. Hold it up to the light. Give it a sniff. Down the hatch. Wow. That's interesting. I just thought that I may bring a friend of mine who's an expert in wines on the show, and he can talk a little bit more about pairing wines on another show. But thanks for watching this one, and this has been another fun-filled episode of Taste This TV. I'm your host, Chef Joe Ciminera. Remember, there are no rules in cooking. Taste this.